Welcome to this week's episode of the Dope Creator Podcast. I'm your host, Diamond, and here we get real with your favorite creators and CEOs. We have conversations that will challenge you, motivate you, educate you, and ultimately remind you of how dope you are. So today I am joined by Natasha.
Hello, everybody.
And today we're going to talk about balanced travel, living life on your terms, and even giving you a little insider on our experiences at a tech company we work for called LTK. So let's just get into it. Natasha, thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling?
I feel amazing. It's beautiful Sunday, and yeah, had a great weekend. Like I said, back in balance.
Back in balance. We're going to talk about how to be balanced out because, you know, life be life in y'all. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background from the folks that are hearing you from the first time. Who is Natasha? How did she even get to where she is right now?
Hello, everybody. I'm Natasha Ibrahim. I'm a content creator in the travel space, and I also do lifestyle and a lot of mindset content as well. And like Diamond said, we both work together at LTK. Yeah. How did I get to where I am now? I think I always traveled. I grew up all over the world in Australia, Canada, the US, etc. And I just had a really unique upbringing, and it gave me a really different perspective. And I always wanted to share that perspective with the world. And I was always very curious about different cultures, people, and just exploring the world and learning more about myself through other people. So a lot of introspection. And so yeah, I started solo traveling in high school by volunteering abroad. I studied abroad. I would always find creative ways to be able to make travel possible, whether it was working like odd jobs or just working at a very young age to save and be able to take those trips. I've always been very independent and entrepreneurial. So when I was in middle school, I started working, and I've been doing different things since then. And throughout the years, I've learned a lot more about the kind of lifestyle I want to live and how to get there and what jobs don't align with me and what do. But I always love trying new things. And I share that in my content and really try to empower other people, but specifically women, to find their purpose. And the only way to do that is to try different things and fail. So I love trying things, failing, and then iterating my processes throughout it, which is kind of how I've gotten to where I am now, working at LTK, which is an amazing company. It's super aligned with who I am, my brand, and the direction that I want to go. And then also as a content creator who creates content on digital nomading, career, mindset, lifestyle, and how to really build a life that you love every day. And that you're not trying to escape, and bringing all of the different areas together. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep rambling on.
No, keep rambling on. We love hearing you talk.
Thank you. But yeah, I think that's the most important thing, is just trying and failing and moving forward and making changes, not getting complacent or stuck where you are because you're comfortable. And that's kind of the message that I want to share with my audience.
Heavy on them not being complacent. It's super easy to be comfortable. I love being comfortable. I'm not gonna lie. I like being comfortable, but we're not gonna get to where we want to be. We're not gonna meet our goals if we are staying comfortable. So we have to do things that make us uncomfortable. And honestly, starting this podcast was uncomfortable for me. But here we are. I love it. And low key, I might be dying every day on the inside, but we're still here. And And so I think that's really, really cool, really inspirational. And so for you, then, what does it mean? Because this is kind of what Girl Boss Abroad is based around, right? Living life on your terms. So how do you go about doing that yourself?
Yeah. So Girl Boss Abroad is my brand for female digital nomads or women who want to travel or just build a career that they can work from anywhere. So going off of what I said, it's kind of Can you repeat the question?
What does it mean for you to live life on your terms, and how do you go about doing it yourself?
Got it. Okay. Back. Okay. So living life on my own terms for me personally, health and wellness is so important to me. Some might say I'm a little woo-woo. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm not teaching right now, but I'm very into, yeah, I don't know if I ever told you that, but I
Aw.
used to teach yoga at Core Power. I still work with Core Power. I'm really fortunate to be a brand partner and work in that space and be able to create content in that space too. But really being in tune with myself, what I need in the moment. Like I was just telling Diamond before we hopped on that I can live very drastic lifestyles sometimes where I'm traveling, I'm very social, I'm doing a lot of things outside of myself, but then I'm a very much so an introverted extrovert where I love that and I can play those cards, but then I love coming home and my time to myself and reflecting and thinking deeply and really build things substantially out of nothing, being very creative, which is kind of what I do on my YouTube channel. I do a lot of reflection and just teaching people about themselves through my own journey. And I think it's so important to find that balance, to go out and learn and explore and create the experiences that you can then create the content from. I think as a content creator, it's very easy to get so focused on the content, like what's going to
Mhm.
perform, the algorithm, what do I need to say, what do people want, what is like that we forget to live. Like a lot of times
Mhm.
content creators forget to go outside and live and have these experiences that they can then talk about. So I think, yeah, just really, really inviting like the different parts of life and bringing them together in a cohesive way, but also like not putting too much pressure on it because you will think something will perform and
Mhm.
you put so much time and energy into it and then it doesn't. And then it's like you're out and about and you grab your phone and you just open it up and make a TikTok off the top of your head and that can go viral. So it's like you really never know. So it's just really finding that balance and always being true to yourself and what you're trying to share. Like, so I always try to come back to my purpose. Like, why am
Mhm.
I doing this? Like, who am I trying to help? Who am I serving with this content?
So, okay, so you mentioned something about balance, right? And also taking care of yourself in the process and trying not to be too hard on yourself because, well, if anything, I'm my heaviest critic, right? We are our heaviest critic.
Mhm.
And we really have to make sure that in the process of, being creative and doing our things, we have to make sure that we actually take a step back, not only take care of ourselves, but also praise ourselves, right? Like encourage ourselves, affirmations, which that's really what you're really good at doing. And so, as someone who is a digital creator and entrepreneur, and you also, work for LTK, and you're also a digital nomad, you said that you have to, figure out ways to balance all of those titles, all of those things, while also enjoying life, right? And so, with these titles, work comes with it, time comes with it. So what do you do specifically that you make sure that you take care of yourself and your well-being?
I love this question. So I always have check-ins with myself.
Mm.
Like, how am I feeling? What do I need? Another thing, boundaries are so important.
Oh my gosh. Ah.
Yeah, I I have really worked on my boundaries a lot in the past,
Mhm.
like few years, 5 years, like, and it's been life-changing. Boundaries with friends, work, relationships, like just yourself, like setting boundaries with
Mhm.
yourself is so
Mhm.
important. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like it's definitely a work in progress. It always will be. And I'm
Mhm.
always getting tested in different ways, but also just really understanding, like setting your intentions and understanding, like, what do you need in this moment or like for this chunk of time or this trip or whatever's going on, because I actually just posted a video and I have another one coming out on this topic on YouTube
Mhm.
because I went on this trip recently and I let my boundaries kind of get played with a little bit, and
Mm,
that's on me because I yeah, I didn't set them firmly enough, but also I wasn't as clear with the intention for that part. I did have an intention, but I wasn't as strict with it, and that's, like, another thing is, like, not being too strict with yourself, like, really finding that intricate balance. I know I keep saying
mhm,
balance, but it's so important, and then also, if you do realize that your boundaries are getting overstepped or you're not doing what you need to be doing, like, to make a change, you have to sometimes do a hard thing or have a hard conversation, but it's so important to do that because if you don't, your energy is going to continue to get drained, your
mhm,
work is going to stop performing, your like other parts are going to unravel. So it's so important to, like pivot if you need to in that moment. Another thing that's super important to me is like health and fitness. I
mhm,
work out every day, and if I'm not working out, I'm at least, like, going for a walk, doing yoga, like, stretching, but if I don't move my body, like, I
mhm,
am not a good person, like,
mhm,
I
mhm,
like, in all ways, like, mentally, physically, emotionally, like, it is my therapy,
mhm.
I recently, like, last week, started dancing samba, and
Ooh.
you and just, like, trying new things, like, always pushing
Mhm,
myself, like, I lift weights, but then I also, like, of course, do yoga. I started running again, like, just seeing what my body can do, like, especially without equipment,
mhm,
I love seeing, like, how my body like, the capabilities of it because it's so empowering. Because then it tells you what your mind can do too, and it's all mental,
mhm,
working out, running, all this stuff, it's like your mind will give up before your body does.
mhm,
And having that resilience in your mind and like I'm so big on like doing things that
mhm,
are almost sometimes painful because it pushes me and it really all starts with your mind. I don't know if I came up with this quote, but I love the phrase all things start with a thought. Like,
mhm,
every single thing in the world, like, that is not completely natural started with a thought. Someone had to
mhm,
have the idea and then act on it. So, if you can push your mind to that point where, like and say, like you said, affirmations, like, know that you're capable, knowing that you believe in it. And lately, transparently, like my internal dialogue, like, subconsciously has been not the best, and I've noticed it, like, I'm a little down on myself, I'm being a little too hard on myself, I'm not remembering who the fuck I am, and
mhm,
so I wrote down on Post-it notes affirmations, put them on my mirror, and I'm sitting in front of my mirror every day, and I'm saying them out loud to myself, and I'm looking myself in the eyes, and I'm believing it, and then those phrases are starting to, like, play in my mind throughout the day, and I'm like, I'm a magnet. Success comes to me. Opportunities flow into my life. All these things. And I feel expansive. Like I feel my energy opening up. I feel these things magnetizing towards me. And it's because everything is energy and like all these thoughts are really like attracting them and you hold yourself differently. Like you go out into the world. Sometimes I do feel like I'm like this and I'm like, oh, no one's talking to me. Like I'm not making friends. But then sometimes I go out and my energy's open and everyone wants to talk to me. And it's just
mhm,
you can make those subtle changes. And sometimes it's hard to do, like if you're just trying to say it in your mind, which is why I really encourage anyone listening to this, write it on your post-it note, put it on your mirror, say it out loud, like speak it into existence. Those are and eating healthy, sorry, that's eating healthy is so important as well. Meal prepping, just like knowing I'm getting enough protein and nutrients and like listening to what my body is craving and not like putting myself like sometimes I can be hard on myself and
mhm,
very strict, but like I'm never too strict.
mhm,
I'm big on, like, the 80-20 rule where, like, if I want something sweet or if I wanna go out to eat, like, I'm gonna do it, but also, like, majority of the time, I'm going to eat what's good for me and fuel my body in the right way. Just like working out, it's like you are built by your habits and what you do every day, what you're putting in your body, and if I'm eating junk food or, like, not, like, nourishing my body, I'm not gonna be able to think as clearly or work out or do all these things or look the way I want.
Mhm.
And I think that's another important thing is like taking care of yourself, like self-care, getting a massage, doing your makeup. Like this morning, I was like a little tired and whatever. And then like I put makeup on and I'm like, okay, we're ready to go. Like I feel great. And it's these little things that like sometimes people can think, oh, it's superficial, but
Mhm.
it really does change the way that you see yourself, and the way you feel and how you see yourself is how it's like a reflection, like how other people are going to see themselves in you, and everything's just like a mirror. So yeah,
Mhm.
putting yourself, your best self out there, and not saying like you have to do it every single day, but like consistently will get you further along than if you are like in your victim mindset, like, oh, bad things happen to me, or like I'm just not
Mhm.
lucky, or all these things. Like that's what you're attracting at the end of the day. So
Uh, there's so much in that. I'm like on fire inside. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. Literally so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you touched on so many things. Boundaries, heavy, heavy, heavy on boundaries, because especially when you are running a business and you're also talking to creators all day, every day, connected to them socials, some even have your phone number. Like it's really easy to blur those lines and mix work with personal and just kind of like you lose your mind. And so boundaries have been incredibly important for me. Like I don't respond on the weekends. Like if it's not in between working hours, like I won't respond. I'll get back to you the next day. And at some point it was kind of hard because I'm like, oh, I want to help them now, but it's like, no, you need to help yourself first and foremost.
mhm,
Like you are that priority.
it's true.
Um, and then again with like wellness, right? Taking care of yourself, doing those things that you enjoy that will be mentally and physically great for you. You're doing yoga, you're eating healthier, right? Working on that, and then as well as making sure that you like work out. Same for me. I work out every day. I even started recently signed up for Pilates now. So I'm gonna be a Pilates girly.
I love Pilates. I'm going today. Really. It's
Boy, today.
3 p.m. Yep, solid core. It's so good for like your posture, alignment. It just like makes you stand taller, and I feel like that affects like how you move throughout life. Like it
Yeah.
really does. Yeah, it's the best.
Yes, and I'm super excited. I'm a little scared, but I'm excited. And I just realized too that last week basically I had dental surgery, so I could not like move
Yeah,
the entire week. And I realized how miserable I was because I had not worked out, I had not moved my body, I did not have my morning routine, my habits built that week. And so I was literally miserable. And I was like, okay, we're not doing this again. Like we have to make sure that we are consistent with it. Because I realized that I am better when I move in the morning, when I wake up early, when I meditate, like when I do all the things and eat
mhm.
breakfast. And then it's like now I'm ready to go on about my day and do all the things. And that is super important. And then meal prepping, I have made it a point to meal prep consistently this year, and like honestly forever, but like especially this year. I failed at it. I failed at it previously, especially last year. I failed at it. And I realized that if I don't do it, I'm going to be more prone to eat out. And then once again, that's spending more money. And that's also like eating unhealthy because you can't live off of Panda Express and Chipotle.
Yeah.
Like, and I love Chipotle, but you can't live off of it, right? You have to make sure that you actually have balanced meals and stuff like that. So I think that's super incredible. And then affirmations. Don't know if you started affirmations. You have just brought to my attention that I have slacked on affirmations. So we're gonna get back into that. I love that.
Honestly, I was lacking on affirmations so badly for a while, and that's why I was like, I need to
Mhm.
get back in this habit because it really is so powerful. It's so
Mhm.
simple too.
Yeah,
Like you just say things and they happen. It's that simple.
literally. And it's crazy. Like it is energy. Your words are energy. Your mindset is energy. Money is energy. Your business is energy. Like all of these things are energy. It's all about how you take advantage of it, how you take care of it.
Mhm.
And so even with that, every time I look up, you are traveling, which I love that for you, honestly. And because of your love of travel, you have created a business out of it while simultaneously growing your career. So tell us more about this community you built. what was the moment that made you want to create this company as well?
So I've always wanted to do this. Like since I was
Mm.
probably 11 years old, like I dreamed of doing YouTube and
Mhm.
being a content creator. And I let other people like around me tell me, like laugh at me or say like,
Mhm.
oh, like what are you trying to, and
Mhm.
especially I'm Indian and yeah, brown families, let me tell you something about them.
Tell me,
So
sis, tell me.
they're very like, and they mean so well, but like they don't think big sometimes, and they play it safe in a way, or they think like medicine and being a lawyer, going into medicine, being a doctor are the only ways you can like be successful. And they just like sometimes, and times are changing of course too, but in my family it was very much so like the only way that they knew how to help my generation, my brother, my cousins, was go into a good college, go into medicine, like you'll make stable income, this and that, but they were scared of taking risks.
Mhm.
And I've always been very entrepreneurial and like a risk taker, but I had that friction between like I feel this in me and like I need to do it, but like getting told like it's not going to work, or how are you going to do that, and like these limiting beliefs. And like I used to question myself a lot. I still do, not going to lie, but much less. And that was a muscle that I had to build, like confidence, security in my path. Like all of these things did not come naturally to me. I actually like was extremely depressed as a teenager, like on antidepressants, had a really bad victim mindset. I transparently, I'm not to get into it, but I had a pretty traumatic childhood. So that also led to me understanding my resilience, because if I could get through that, I can try things and fail and still be okay. So that really helped me. And I'm so grateful for the adversity that I had to go through at a very young age, because if I did not have to go through that, I would probably still be in the, oh, I'm scared to try and take risks phase at this age, and probably become complacent and not have gotten to where I am today. So there's a silver lining in everything. So going off of that, I found this power within myself, and I wanted to empower other people or women to realize that like you can do this too. Like if you are going through something hard, or you were dealt a hard hand, like cards, dealt a bad hand, I don't know like how to explain it. Like if you did not, you weren't born into a situation where like everything was handed to you, like
Mhm.
you can still build a beautiful life. And what I've found is that it's not a straight shot at
Mhm.
all. Like you're going to have ups and downs, you're going to fail, you're going to have obstacles, but it's the consistency and staying true to yourself that pays dividends. Like
Mhm.
yeah, like I to this day, like I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like but I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time, but I also do know I know what I'm working towards.
Mhm.
It's not completely like, and that goes into setting goals. Like I have big goals, but I don't have a structure to get there. I know a tentative track and what I need to do to get there, but I'm not going to hold myself to a certain standard or a certain path, because
Mhm.
I know that the universe is bringing things into my life constantly and
Mhm.
opportunities. I need to stay open to what is out there and like what is coming into my life, and be able to adapt and
Mhm.
pivot if I need to, because maybe the path looks different, but the ending is going to be what I want it to be. And I also want to add that that is a feeling and not material things. Like yes, like I want a certain lifestyle and things and everything, but it's more so like who do I want to become and how do I want to have an impact on the world?
Mhm.
That's what's most important to me.
Yes, learning how to adapt and using that as, oh my gosh. So basically, I said this in my last episode or last recording, but basically, life and being an entrepreneur is basically playing chess. Like, you're always adapting. You always have to predict of what's going to happen next and how you should pivot and how you should move in order to stay relevant, in order to stay on top. That is how, like, all the businesses, the people who are successful, who, you know, have sold their companies for multi-millions, that's how they have been able to get there, because they play chess. They didn't just sit there and hope for the best and dilly dally. Like, they moved. They did things that were uncomfortable. They did things that they never thought they would. And I'm sure they questioned themselves a lot, and probably still question themselves to this day, but they did not let that stop them from, you know, getting to where they are. And so you also touched on, very briefly, just kind of like having a very traumatic childhood, and also, as well as, basically, like, everyone gets you know, dealt a hand of cards. It's all about what you do with that hand. Some people are born into it. Some people are born into money. They're born into wealth and success, but they don't do anything with those cards, and essentially they might lose it. Or they might just sit there and you know, be lazy, and because they have everything handed to them on a silver platter. And then there's those who, as well as, get dealt a hand of cards, but they're bad cards. So whereas there's a glass ceiling, you're born into poverty. Maybe you know, were born and your parents died at a young age, and there's just a lot that can come with this bad, you know, hand of cards. But it's all about, what do you do with these cards that you end up on top. I didn't have the best childhood either, right? But I didn't let that like determine my entire life. I didn't let that hold me down, essentially. Like, yes, I could have just been, you know, living in that, boo-hooing in that, like, still being in, you know, the old city that I used to live in and growing up in. I could just be there and miserable and working a very bare minimum job, right? But here I am. I have worked my ass off to get here, right? And it's basically like, this is only the beginning, and it's only up from here. And I love to see that you did not let your past define you, whereas you just let it motivate you. And here you are doing all the things. And here we both are working at this amazing company called LTK. And so basically, this is a tech company where we talk to creators all day, every day. Our job is to onboard them, as well as, you know, we end up building relationships with them, learning about their lives and their stories, the problems and the situations that they're having. And we essentially help them set them up and help them with strategies to build another additional stream of income so that they can continue supporting themselves and their families. So, what has been your favorite part about building these relationships with these creators, and why?
Ooh. So I, as a creator, love the creator business model just because you have to be so creative with it, because there's
Mhm,
so many different like opportunities, streams of income, but it's then where do you focus your time and energy, and
mhm,
how do you build systems that create consistent income rather than having to be on this hamster wheel, which I think is a really difficult part of this career path, is that
mhm,
things are always changing, like, and they change so rapidly. Like, the algorithms are changing, the trends are changing, the platforms that you have to be present on, the content styles, like everything is so it's so liquid. And I think that it can be a beautiful thing, but it also can be very difficult. And it's also a very lonely career path, because you're alone majority of the time, filming, creating, thinking deeply, and it's all about yourself often,
mhm,
unless you have a brand. And going off of this thought is why I created Girl Boss Abroad, because I found that my what I was trying to create and myself and who I am was so intertwined that it was hard to differentiate. And I really wanted to be able to remain myself and who I am, and not just this, like, be like dissolve down into a niche or
mhm,
like one thing. And yeah, so that was able to give me that separation. But I love that we are able to kind of work LTK into their business model in a creative way, because every creator is different. Their
mhm,
workflow is different. Their what they create and their niches are all different. So yeah, and like their personalities are different too. And it's how can they best share this new income stream or like this new platform with their audience to and it's like a dance. It's a dance between LTK, their content, their audience, what's working. There's a dialogue going on, and we have to really like think critically and deeply, and like really like look at analytics, but also like just think about like emotions, like because at the end of the day, it's like they're human, we're human, their audience is human. Like, how can they really serve them and create meaningful content that is going to perform not because of the algorithm, but because it hits a chord with
Mhm.
another human.
Yes, that is so good. Hitting a chord with another human. And I think it's also hard and well easy to kind of forget that they're human and kind of because you just want them to be successful, you just want them to make money, be like, here, let's do all this, forgetting that life happens or that they're a mom or that maybe their dog died or they recently just lost a family member, like all these situations. And then you're like, oh wait, like they're human, let me remember and like adapt basically. And so I think my favorite part about building relationships with these creators is both building relationships with them, like actually getting to know them, because I too am an introverted extrovert, right? I like being to myself. And so this job has really pushed that boundary of like, you think you're not going to talk to anyone, you're going to talk to people every day, all day. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. It's been a fun pivot, but here we are. And so I think too, you also get those select few creators that even after you've gotten finished onboarding them and setting them up, you still have this relationship with them for
Yeah.
months, years on. And I've built really great relationships with creators, and a couple of them are like, yeah, I'll do the podcast. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And others are like, yo, like, girl, let me tell you what happened today. I'm like, girl, tell me what happened. What happened? Who did it? Why did they do it? And so I think that's really interesting too. And you really just get another perspective of them that their audience doesn't even get, because there's,
Mhm.
limits and boundaries of like what you actually share online to the public, especially when you have a huge following, because we deal with creators that have huge followings, right? And so they have so many eyes on them, people who are ready to jump and judge them and criticize them if they mess up or do something wrong or just do something that simply they don't like. And so getting like basically another viewpoint on who they really are and what they deal with and what they go through. And it's like, okay, how can I help you? How can I support you? And I think that's my favorite. And so as a creator yourself though, and you're helping other creators like essentially build this platform, but as well as get brand deals. And so with you, how do you go about making sure that you ask for and receive the rate that you deserve, because there is a huge pay gap between white creators and essentially creators of
Yeah. I think that is a topic that is, there's so many things that go into it, and especially since this industry is so new,
mm-hmm,
no one really understands like what the ROI and like what
mm-hmm,
the rates should be. Like we are all like, whether you're a brand or an agency or a creator, it's like we're all like throwing numbers out there based on like analytics and things, but at the same time it's like how much you really deserve, because at the end of the day it's like there's so many brands trying to do like trade or gifting, and yes, they're spending money on that, and like it's costing them, and like that's a risk that they're taking by doing that, because it's like, is the creator actually gonna like share this and convert, or like do a proper like use the product properly,
mm-hmm,
or are they gonna just like kind of like take a picture of it and be like, oh, I got this, and then like put it away or not use it. So it's like as a creator, I'm always cognizant of the brand and like what they are putting into like working with me, because they're investing in me in a way, but to help themselves. So I want to like, because transparently, I didn't really understand it years ago, and I would get products and whatever, and like I would share them, but like I wasn't understanding like my impact. But
mm-hmm,
now I know like, hey, if I get a product, I should talk about it. I should show how I use it. I should show it
mm-hmm,
in motion, because I want to show brands that like I'm helping them. Like
mm-hmm,
if I am helping a brand make more sales, they're going to want to pay me. Like
mm-hmm,
they're not going to want to pay me if I'm like, "Oh, can you give me free stuff?" and I'm not really going to share it, or like I'm going to share it but it's not going to really convert, and then like, can you do a paid collaboration? But I think what's really important is building those relationships, and Yes, like there is definitely a pay gap, and I think it's hard. I've seen it in other creators, and I think it probably has affected me too, just because I am like of color and maybe I don't like there are definitely people out there who can resonate with my content being Indian or South Asian.
Hmm.
But yeah, like a lot of times creators that are not as like diverse will be favored because they brands will think that more people can resonate with them or that their content will perform better, and that is a hurdle that you have to pass, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about like really finding your audience, which I'm still like I love my audience and like they're engaged in all these things, but like I want to really find my audience, like the women who really resonate with me, who maybe have a similar like upbringing as me with immigrant parents and are like navigating the world as a brown girl. And I think as an Indian and a brown girl, there's so many more content creators I'm seeing like as of the past few years and brands that are geared towards Indians, which is super cool. And I want to work with those brands. Like,
Hmm.
I want to be part of that movement, kind of like, I don't want to push myself into an area where I have to push myself. I want to go where I'm celebrated. And I think that's really important as well to think of as a content creator, like what aligns with you, like what brands align with you, building those relationships and really building partnerships
Hmm.
that are beneficial on both ends. Like working with brands long term rather than doing one offs. And if they do say, oh, like they can only do gifting right now, accept it and let them know, hey, I'm accepting this gifting collaboration because I do want to do a paid collaboration in the future and I want to like build this relationship. And just like, you know, sometimes and recently I've been lowballed way more than usual.
Hmm.
And knowing when to say no and when to say
Hmm.
yes. Because
Hmm.
sometimes a brand will lowball me or offer me a smaller rate. And I'll say, you know what? I'll do it anyways because it's super aligned with me. I know that there's going to be a benefit here. I can easily organically make this content.
Hmm.
Or if a brand is lowballing me and like, especially with TikTok shop and things like that these days, it's like just commission. And I'm
Hmm.
like, if a product is not something that I would organically use and they're lowballing me, like I will say no. Like I'm not gonna just chase dollars. And then also like creative energy and time and all this stuff, especially working full time and doing everything, it's not I don't have endless amounts of time to be creating content. So if someone's gonna pay me like half my rate or I can just say no, and then a brand will come along and pay me my full rate. I
Hmm.
can make one TikTok for my full rate, or I can have to make like 2 or 3 or 4 TikToks to get to my full rate, which takes 4 times the amount of time, which I could be using to rest or to work on my own content or build my strategy, you know? So it's just really understanding like what is worth your time, like
Yeah.
valuing your time and energy.
Yes, for sure. Especially as a creator, like you have all of these different brands and people who are in your emails and your inbox, like wanting different things from you. And you really just have to figure out, like, okay, what is truly aligned with me, my brand, and my audience? Because your audience is going to be able to peep whether or not you actually enjoy that product, and they're going to be able to feel that. And so I love to hear, even if you do get lowballed by a brand, at least it organically like aligns with you and you're like, hey, okay, so I'm gonna accept this. And then in the long run, maybe it'll open up these opportunities, open doors for me to get paid more, right? And so that's something too that you have to think about too, like as a business owner, like you have your certain prices specifically, right? And then maybe there's a client or maybe there's something or a business or whatever that you want to work with. And they essentially are like, huh, like I'm not be able to pay this, but I can pay this. Sometimes we have that freedom to actually whether or not we want to accept that, like, okay, even though my usual rate is 5K, maybe this brand or this client is only pay me 3K, right? And you're like, even though I have to, make a pay cut, this essentially open doors for other clients or other businesses or other brands or whatever. And so I love the freedom with that, with being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. So you being a creator, you have basically a different type of viewpoint when you work with your own creators as well, because you fully understand what they deal with because you deal with it all day, every day. And so we actually got to meet each other actually in real. I love working remote. I love it here, and I will never leave ever.
I
And
know.
so recently in January, we were actually able to meet each other in our team, as well as other members and colleagues that work out of LT. Oh, so we also got to work outside of the LT office as well, which was super cool and super surreal for me. So that's like another can of worms.
Yeah.
But how was that experience for you? Like as a creator who has known about LTK for however many years, and then actually being able to be in like seeing things how things work internally, and then as well as being inside of like the office and actually meeting the team and the people behind LTK.
Oh my gosh. It was honestly like the most empowering and also just like I felt like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Oh my
Like
gosh. Yes.
like I felt like I made it. Like
Hmm.
it felt so right because as as a creative, I think it's hard to sometimes it's easy to reach new levels, but it's also hard to reach new levels because you're just like doing the same thing, creating over and over again. And like I'm such an entrepreneur. Like I love business and I
Hmm.
love like building things and like building something bigger than me. And as a creative, it's like you're kind of in your own little space,
Hmm.
but being part of a team like LTK where let me tell you guys, like everyone that works at LTK is a bad bitch or a
Period.
badass. Like they, with their hiring process, they are so meticulous with
Hmm.
choosing talent. And even on our team, like each one of us, we all bring such unique perspectives and just like energy to
Hmm.
our team. And like we all have like such crazy cool like career backgrounds and just like where we came from to get to LTK. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, our
It's
boss did a
weird.
good job at hiring for
Yes.
sure. So, so yeah, just like meeting these women who are like such badasses, but like also just like we're so aligned. Like I felt so
Mhm.
like in flow with everyone and just like what our goals are for the year and where we're going and how the company's performing. And just to be part of that was so great. Cause for the past few years, I've been full-time content creation entrepreneur. And I felt like I have so much to offer, but I
Mhm.
wasn't able to reach new heights because like I was hitting a ceiling.
Mhm.
And LTK is kind of like a vehicle for me to use my mind and skills to push something forward. And that's pushing LTK forward. And LTK is also so receptive to us and our ideas. And like we all can like really bring who we are and what we kind of think of like to the
Mhm.
table and it's heard. Like we're not
Mhm.
just another number. And that was what was amazing. And like meeting you and like getting to know like everyone and like even our boss and like it's just like I'm so happy. Like I
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, it was so great. I think my biggest shock was realizing that I was the tallest. Um, I was like, "Oh my god," because like you kind of when you don't see like people in real life and you kind of work with them on remote and you only see them like on Zoom or Google Meets, like you just have this assumption or this image in your mind of like maybe how tall they are, what they really look like, and then you see them in real life and you're like, "You're the complete opposite of what I thought you were." Like not in a
What
bad
do
way.
you think I was gonna be taller than you or shorter than you?
Well, I remember asking you how tall you were, so I expected you to be shorter, like slightly shorter. I didn't expect everyone to be shorter because it was kind of like me, you, and then it just kind of kept going down, and I was like, "What's going on?" So that was a very shocking point too. And I was like, "Okay," and then our manager, she's also like the shortest. So I was like,
Yeah, she's so cute.
"She's so cute." It was funny, but I definitely like 100% agree just the people that work for the company are just full blown, just badasses. Like they have such a history. Even the executives are super dope, and they're also really chill. Like I was honestly scared
Yeah.
to meet a few of them, and they're like, "Why are you scared?" I'm literally chill, and like literally just how much fun we had. Like going to dinner and had our wines and it was just an amazing experience and then as well as being able to actually go to like a headquarter office and actually see it and experience it and be a part of it. It might be like dumb or weird. I don't care. But it was the first time that I actually got to see an office and actually be like, oh my gosh, I actually work for this company. And it was really exciting for me, but also like a moment for me because even my parents really haven't had like an actual corporate job. Like they've never worked out of an office or worked remotely. And so being kind of like the first generation corporate person in the family, as well as, you know, a business owner, it was a very surreal moment for me. And I remember like leaving the headquarters and going back to my room and literally crying because I was like, what the heck? Because this is
I have
so real.
chills right now. I literally have goosebumps. Oh my god, that's so beautiful.
It was definitely a moment for me. And it was like, whatever, like you've been through a lot and your family's been through a lot and you are literally like breaking the curse, right? And you're going to new heights that they only were able to dream of as well. And
Yeah.
so it was definitely a great moment for me, and I will never take this for granted, but it was definitely an amazing experience as well. And so before we let our girl Natasha go, because I hope this episode isn't great. Before we let her go, Natasha, what are 3 pieces of advice that you want to leave with listeners who are interested in balanced traveling and remote work, but have zero clue what to do, how to get there?
I would say the first most important thing is understanding yourself. So I have a course, not to like plug my course, but I
Don't plug
literally have a course on how to literally do all of these steps, like taking you through the whole process from like, I have no idea where to start to like how to get a job, how to start a business, how to create systems and run everything so you're making money, how to budget, change your career, and then how to travel, how to get rid of your apartment, how to find an apartment, how to move visas. Everything is in there. So you can find it at girlbossabroad.org. But from that course and just from that kind of like blueprint that I've made, first, most important thing, understanding yourself, introspection. What is your superpower? We all have a superpower. We all are gifted. And uncovering that through personality tests and just like introspection, journaling. I have journal prompts and everything throughout the course too to really get deep. So that way you can then choose the right path for you, like the right career, whether it's being an entrepreneur, whether it's working at a company or freelancing. Like there's so many different ways you can go. Choosing the one that's right for you is super important. And then your travel style. Like, do you want to move abroad and have a base somewhere, or are you trying to backpack, or are you trying to like move every month? Like, depends on your personality, depends on the job that you have, your career, all of these things. But also, like, don't overthink it and measure your short term and long term goals. Know what you want for the next few months, the next year, the next 2 years. But where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And make sure they align with each other, because I see very often that people can act impulsively.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be impulsive, but I'm never impulsive in a way that's going to hurt my long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that everything is still aligned. So yeah, being cognizant, introspection, short-term and long-term goals.
I love that. I love that. What an amazing way to end a podcast episode. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode of the Dope Creator Podcast. Natasha, tell them where they can find you.
Thank you so much for having me, Diamond. This was so fun. I feel so full right now. I have
Oh,
energy and like, feels good. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at the Natasha Ibrahim, Ibrahim. I always spell my last name because it's all the vowels. And I'm on YouTube. My YouTube is Natasha Ibrahim, and then Girl Boss Abroad on Instagram with girl.bossabroad, because Girl Boss Abroad was taken.
Oh, not they took it. Oh, it's okay because you take it back. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fine.
fine.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Much love for you, Natasha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.